My biggest motivating factor would simply be knowing that I never want to do without. The childhood that I had was such that it was pretty bad, and I never want to go back to that, number one. And number two is I truly enjoy helping people. The economy is very bad, but you always have to remember in life when there's a segment of society that's losing money with foreclosures, both commercially and residentially, there's always somebody on the other side making money. So when times are bad, especially bad, that's when generational wealth is made, literally generational wealth. So when you can figure out a way to help somebody that's going through hard times and help their life and make money while you're doing it, and these are some of the strategies that we teach, both in the commercial and residential scenarios. So there's a lot of money to be made, but the key is knowledge, and knowledge is very tough to come by. You're going to get knowledge in a couple different ways, either on the streets and pay dearly for it, or through these seminars that we teach. It's kind of like a shortcut to the knowledge that you need to do the deals. Knowledge is power. Going to find property gets difficult. It's easier now because there's a lot of property that's available for the right price point. If you went back 10 years ago, it was really slim pickings in terms of finding property between 5 and 10 acres and getting it at the right price point. So finding property is difficult and challenging, but it's not impossible. What I like to do is go out and get a broker. Sometimes I get a broker to help me find property. Sometimes I'll just go around and drive and look for a busy area and just literally go to the city, find out who owns the property, and then get a hold of the person that owns the property myself, okay? So it saves a middleman. There's no fees or commissions I would have to pay. And sometimes I'll try to work out a deal with the guy that owns the property, and maybe you can do a joint venture, bring him in on a deal. There's all kinds of opportunities out there, but simply drive around and looking for properties, and maybe even getting a broker involved if you feel you need to. This is such a good location on so many fronts. We talked about up and coming locations. We talked about here and now locations. This one here is the perfect scenario for a guy that wants to get in on a mini storage on an entry level. Now let's talk about how we're going to do that. So what I like to do is I like to find a smaller mini storage like this that has actually land in the back of it that's available to them, or land that's adjacent to it on either side, so you can do what? So you can actually build an addition. So this is actually the perfect candidate for a mini storage that's done very well for many, many years to actually double the sales of the mini storage. Now we're going to walk back here, and as you can see, this is actually a block constructed building. And it's an older unit because it actually has the older doors on it, which are good doors and all that. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just an older style. Now this is actually called a block construction with a standing seam roof, and they put the gutters on it as well. Really nice. The guy really keeps up on it. Mark's really, really good about this, keeping up on it. Does a very nice job with this. It's done, like I said, very, very good over the years. And we're going to get to the point where we're at the end of this aisleway here, and this is where the new addition was put on. Now, you got to remember, when you're putting a new addition on a mini storage, you got to get into what you call the storm sewers. And since there's really no water in there, you don't have to worry about hooking into any sanitary or any water supplies, okay? So all we're concerned with here is what we call the storm sewers. So what I had to do is come in here, and if you see this storm sewer drain that's over there, we actually had to cut in and tap into the storm sewer drains to make this second part of the mini storage work. Kind of ended here. So what we did is I actually got a dozer out of here, and we dozed off the land, took the first 6 inches of topsoil off, put a engineered fill base on there so we could put the asphalt in. We dug all the storm sewers. We actually dug our footings, and then we poured our slab over here. So we poured this slab here first, the second slab, the third slab, and the fourth slab. As we panned on this way, you can see the 4 buildings that we did. Once you get it all ready to go, you poured everything, you block it up, you come in and install all your doors, and then as everything gets completed, as you go down the line, then you just asphalt it on your way out, which is what you can see here. Now, you might want to wonder, why is there such a gap here between the asphalt here and the lip over here? Now the reason that is, you leave a little space there because in the future, as the asphalt kind of cracks up and breaks up, you can put another cap of asphalt on here, which would bring the level closer to where it should be right now. So you leave it a little low there, thereby allowing you to put another coat of asphalt so we don't have to dig it back out again. It's a nice deal that a student could get into for relatively a low amount of money with a good future. So in other words, you could get in at the right dollar amount, but then by putting an addition onto it, you can do all kinds of things in terms of revenue generating. So you can get in at a small price, and then with the ability to put an addition on it and go at it like that, that's a cheap way to get into a site with cash flow right now that will enable you to borrow money much easier from the bank because it's an existing business. It has cash flow right now, and the business that it's doing could probably handle the additional costs it would cost for the build out. So now if you were a student that ran into a mini storage that you could get into, say you could have bought this at the time for, say, $1 million. Now, if you'd have got this for $1 million and it had all this extra land for free, not doing anything, the land is literally sitting here with nothing to do, that would be a good play. Now, that is a good way for a first-time entry for a person to get into a mini storage and do very well because everything's here. The mini storage is full in the front. You have vacant land here. You just have to have the ability and know-how to know that you can put an addition here and get it operational and do very good. Keepsafe was just an absolute gem because it was very full. They got good money for the mini storage, and it had all that land in the back. See, now the average person, the average student might not recognize the future possibility of that. So when you can combine a mini storage that's full, you can get it at a good price point, and you have the opportunity to expand it in the back, that is gold because you're going to buy it as if in terms of the revenue it's producing now, where you make your money is by building the addition, and the money comes in the additional revenue. If you can increase it by another $14,000 a month, what did that increase the value of the mini storage? Remember I talked about $1 million costs $7,000 to control. So if you're doing $14,000 more in sales, literally it's worth a couple $1 million more. So that's where the value comes in. And you can build that addition for way less than a couple $1 million. That's where the money is. The first mini storage that I did, it was a problem. Boy, was it a problem because it actually came with a set of blueprints for a mini storage. So I'm thinking, oh, this is fantastic. I already got the land, I got the blueprints for it. Life is good, right? So I go to the city to pull my building permit, and the guy laughs at me. He says, Jeff, he said, these prints are no good. Don't you understand? They're like 7 years old. You have to apply for new prints. So I'm thinking, oh, this is great. Not only are the prints not any good, we actually lost the zoning too. So I had prints, had the property, lost the zoning, and couldn't use the prints. It's like, shoot me in the head, right? So I had to go through the whole process of rezoning it, getting the zoning backed up, and then I had to get a new set of plans for architecturals and engineering. So that was a problem storm my first time. I learned a lot. What we have here is on the top left is actually a site plan with what's allowed to be built in what we call a building envelope. And I actually took this on the bottom right hand, you'll see, and I actually redesigned and redrew out the site plan and the building envelope. And I literally doubled the amount of storage that you can put inside the same building envelope. There's a lot of fear in your first deal, and you have to understand what fear is. If fear really comes from confusion, what does a confused mind always say? No. See, when you are going to do your first deal, a lot of times you just simply don't understand the deal. You're not thorough in your due diligence, you're not thorough in maybe the financing, you're not thorough in the sense of the property and what you can do with it. So a lot of fear simply comes from confusion and never doing the deal. So you just got to muddle through it, muddle through the fear, muddle through the confusion, and like anything in life, the more times you do it, the more what? The better you get at it. Without failure, you wouldn't have success. You're going to go through a lot of no's just to get to yes. You may go through 100 no's just to get one yes, but that one yes will change your life. You see, win-win situations are what make things happen in life. When you can solve people's problems, when you become a problem solver, put your detective hat on and make win-win situations, that's how you make money every time. In life, people are willing to do a certain amount of things. Let's say we have 0 to 100%. Most people will go to 50%. Some people will go to 75%. And there may be even a little more that'll go to 80 or 90%. And then there's just a fraction of people that do 100% of what it needs. Just go that little extra. You're so close. Don't give up. Make it happen. Let your dreams become true.